Well, we are just 1 week away from the NBA draft. At this point, we mentioned Cooper Flagg going #1 overall. Haley's very excited to
roll out
the
blue
Dallas
carpet,
Mavericks.
and the team's up.
The Mavs are only working on Flagg out of the top 3 prospects. When all is said and done, we don't know where anyone else is going. And to help us prepare for this upcoming draft, let's welcome in our Adam Finkelstein and Tim Doyle. I can't wait. This is like dreams are made on this day. We're going to talk about Ace Bailey to start. And it seems at this point that his draft stock is very much in question. He had top projections, and now it's slowly falling down. So, Tim, walk us through why you think that is.
Well, he doesn't want to work out for teams, and Adam can dive further into that, but that's the real reason. He's not putting himself out there. Now, I mentor a bunch of boys that match up with him, and they definitely have told me some things that are not the most positive about Ace as far as his maturity and how he needs to grow, and that's okay. I was once a teenager. I was pretty immature as well. I get a chance to see him live, Jenny and Adam, at Northwestern. I took the minivan with 36 cup holders. I drove an hour to Evanston, Illinois, and I watched the greatest performance ever in Welsh Ryan Arena. And I played there 03 to 07. I was a broadcaster there. I've been a fan there. It was the most remarkable performance I ever saw. He was 13 of 20 at 37 points. He was 5 of 8 from 3. I get it. Northwestern's not Kentucky. But Northwestern usually has a really good defense. And Dylan Harper didn't play in that game. And why is that important? Well, that means the defense was really keying on Ace. He made pull-up jumpers, fadeaways, floaters, three-pointers. When I watch him play, Adam, I see a lot of Tracy McGrady. Now, I know that's a big comparison. Tracy McGrady had a Hall of Fame career, and he made some amazing plays throughout his career, but he has that type of potential. Will it ever be maximized? I don't know, but the fact that he doesn't want to work out, Adam, that's not helping his stock.
No, it's not. I think the slide in his stock right now comes down to some decision-making with his representation. As you mentioned, Tim, he's picking and choosing who he wants to work out for. He's expected to be in Philadelphia later this week, but we don't believe he's worked out for Charlotte and some of the other ones. I think the other thing that's giving some pause here is some of the intel or the feedback we're getting from how he interviewed in Chicago with the draft combine. And what I've heard is that he's been largely unprepared for those meetings. So again, that comes down to his representation. Now, because his agent, his former AAU coach, Omar Cooper, is relatively new to the space, you wonder if that's leading to some of these narratives, or maybe he does in fact have some grand plan, maybe as a promise. We don't know, but right now there's a lot of speculation about Ace Bailey, who was already one of the most polarizing prospects in the class. But I'm with Tim. I think he's a top 3 prospect in this class. You're talking about a 6'8+ jumbo wing. He's a high-level athlete, a tough shot maker. He's got extreme upside. The Tracy McGrady comp is one that we used sometimes in high school when he had those types of outbursts, like the one Tim saw at Northwestern. I've settled into more of maybe a Michael Porter type range, but I do think he's a top 3 prospect. I understand why he and his camp are a little bit frustrated that his stock is slipping, but I think they got to help themselves and get him prepared for these interviews and go work out to the level he's capable of performing at.
You never want to go into an interview unprepared. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to be prepared for every meeting that you have coming your way. And Adam, I want to follow up with you here. Just with this slide, could a player like VJ Edgecombe, could he benefit from Bailey's fall?
Yeah, you certainly could. I think VJ and Ace are widely perceived to be in the same tier, if you will. I think right now there's a lot of belief that VJ will be off the board before 5 and may even go as early as 3 to Philadelphia. The sense, though, is that he would make a ton of sense in Charlotte. This is something I've been saying for a long time, but put him between Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball, and you get a defender, an athlete, and somebody who can put pressure on the rim. So now the question is, because Philadelphia is well known to be open to dealing, whether it's to move up or down, will Charlotte make a play to try and get up to number 3 and make sure they can get VJ Edgecombe? So it's going to be very interesting to see, because Philadelphia's pick is on the board. It is up for whoever makes the best bid. Charlotte is believed to covet VJ Edgecombe. So do they roll the dice and hope that Philadelphia or someone else takes Ace Bailey at 3, leaving VJ there for 4? Or do they be aggressive and make sure they get their guy?
Yeah, VJ went to my high school, so his high school coach and I sat at the same lunch table when we were in 9th grade at Lehigh. And I gave him bad advice because he asked me how to French kiss, and I told him you just lay the tongue in there and she does all the wiggling. But that's actually not true. I learned that as I grew older, okay? Now, VJ Edgecombe, when I see him, I've watched him since he's 15 years old. I see a lot of Ray Allen. And he's a great teammate. He's a fantastic competitor. He was obviously well coached. He went to Lehigh, and you saw the stats there. Ben Simmons was, I don't know if that's like a great comparison, Ben Simmons, but when Ben Simmons was good, he was pretty good. This is the guy I think of. Now, Hall of Fame career, made enormous shots. I think he has this kind of upside. Is he Ray Allen right now? Absolutely not. But could he be there in like 3 to 5 years? I think so. There's a professionalism that maybe I lack that VJ Edgecombe has. And that's important to an organization. I think this kid would be great. He's a great teammate. So I think he's an amazing fit. I will say this. The top 3 picks in my eyes are set. It's Flagg, Harper, Ace Bailey. And I do believe there's a bit, if VJ's not going to like this, there is a bit of a drop to him. I think it'd be a massive mistake to pass on Ace Bailey.
Professionalism and Tim Doyle, 2 words that don't go in the same sentence. So you just put your list out there, Tim, and then I was talking to our producer earlier, and he said that you said that the Wizards have to take Maryland's Derek Queen at 6. Why is that?
He's from the area, and I think he's an all-star talent.
Okay.
You know, I saw him in high school, and I worried that he was going to have a hard time putting down the knife and fork. I mean, a guy liked to eat. He had a big old behind, and he knew how to use it, and he had great footwork and excellent passing. Well, he took a massive jump. I ran a high school game on Long Island between his high school, maybe the greatest high school team ever with him, Cooper, Newell, and Liam McNeely. And I was like, all right, he's a lock, going to be a great college player. But what he did in college was develop his handle. Remember that shot he made against Colorado State off the wrong foot off the glass? He learned how to shoot the 3. When I see him, I see a lot of Antoine Walker. And I got a chance to know Twan really well. He lives in Chicago. I've spent many late nights with him at Burwood Tap and throughout many watering holes in Chicago. And I see a lot of Antoine Walker in this kid. So if you have a perennial all-star that I think he's going to be, and he's a local kid, and the talent is there, Adam, I cannot see them pass. I know they don't need this position, but how do they say no to him?
I think they could use him, and I also think there's a play if he is their guy where they could trade down, pick up another asset, and still be in position to take him because there are questions about both his defense and his shooting. I agree he would fit. I think it'd be really interesting if Washington rolls the dice and says, you know what, we can get him later in the lottery, pick up another asset. We're in rebuilding mode. Let's see if we can pull that off.
Always fun chatting with the 2 of you. You never know what's going to happen in these segments. Adam, Tim, thanks for joining us here on HQ. Getting ready for the draft.
Tim Doyle's rocking that Pacers yellow ahead of Game 6 tomorrow. But Tyrese Halliburton, a game-time decision. How will it impact Indiana's chance to force 7? We got Ashley Nicole Moss and Marty Jaramillo to break it down on the other side.